I spent 3 years as Julian Sterling's doormat. I took the hits for her, drank for her, and even secretly filled the financial holes in her family's company. On the day I proposed, she threw the ring away in front of the entire school, telling me a broke student like me wasn't fit for the heiress of the Sterling family. I smiled, turned around, and dialed a number. Dad, the plan to acquire the Sterling Group? You can start it. Later, her family went bankrupt, and I became the new prince of the tech world. Late one night, she knocked on my door, soaked to the bone, her voice trembling. Lucas, please. I pulled her inside, pinned her against the wall, and kissed her. Begging me now, the things you looked down on back then. Now you have to cry and beg for them. The sound of the ring hitting the ground had been sharp. It was plastic after all. Julianne threw it hard. It happened right at the entrance of the student union, 12:30 in the afternoon, when the crowd was thickest. She stood on the steps, a head taller than me, wearing the white dress I'd saved 3 months of tutoring fees to buy. The sun was so bright I could barely keep my eyes open. Lucas Cole, is your brain filled with water? She didn't lower her voice. Students grabbing lunch, people passing by, everyone stopped. Who are you trying to fool with a plastic loop? Julianne pinched the silver-colored ring, applying a little pressure with 2 fingers. Snap! It broke. She threw the fragments in my face and turned to leave. The shards down my cheek, but not as much as her next words. If you're poor, accept your fate. Don't try to play romantic. It makes me sick. The crowd started whispering. I could hear them. Holy shit, a plastic ring proposal. Isn't that Lucas from computer science? He's been chasing Julianne for 3 years, right? Simping gets you nothing in the end. Julianne's family is loaded. He's really dreaming big. I crouched down, picking up the pieces one by one. Plastic, reflecting a cheap glare in the sunlight. Truly cheap. $9.99 on Amazon. Buy one, get one free. The real one was in my pocket. Platinum, with crushed diamonds. I worked odd jobs for a full year and saved every cent of my meal money for it. But I didn't take it out. Because just last night, I heard Julianne on the phone downstairs outside her dorm. Mom, don't worry. Someone filled that $2 million hole in the company. Who? Just that dumb kid, Lucas. He apparently picked up some freelance coding project, made some money, and gave it all to me. I know his family is poor, but so what? He gave it voluntarily. I didn't force him. Once I find a real boyfriend, I'll tell him to get lost immediately. The wind blew, and a few plastic shards slipped through my fingers. I didn't pick them up again. I stepped over them. When I got back to my rental, it was dark. 100 square feet, no windows, $300 a month. I sat on the bed, staring at the real ring in my hand for 10 minutes. Then I took out my phone and dialed a number I hadn't called in a year. It rang 5 times before connecting. Luke, it was my dad's voice on the other end. The background was noisy, like he was in a meeting. Dad, I heard my own voice, rasping and dry. Yeah, that thing you mentioned last year. Is the offer still on the table? What thing? Taking over the family business. The line went quiet for 3 seconds. You've thought it through? Yeah. All right. I'll have my assistant pick you up tomorrow. No need. I looked at the ring in my hand, the diamonds flickering with a fine, sharp light under the dim bulb. Give me 1 year. I want to build something myself before I come back. My dad paused. Suit yourself, but don't be too stubborn. The Cole family resources. Use them if you need to. I know. I hung up and threw the ring into the deepest part of my drawer. Locked it. The next day, I went to the registrar's office and filed for a leave of absence. My academic advisor was shocked and tried to talk me out of it for ages. I didn't explain. As I walked out the campus gates, I ran right into Julianne. She froze for a second when she saw me, then frowned. Lucas, are you stalking me? I didn't say a word, just dragged my suitcase and kept walking. She chased after me a few steps, blocking my path. About yesterday, I didn't mean for it to go that far, but that plastic ring, it was really too much. My friend were watching. Where was I supposed to put my face? I looked up at her. She was wearing exquisite makeup, and the scent of her perfume was heavy, a brand I'd never smelled before. Move, I said. She froze. What did you say? I said move. I stepped around her and walked forward. She shouted from behind. Lucas, don't be like this. I'll give you 3 days. Think it over clearly, and then come apologize to me, or I really won't talk to you anymore. I didn't look back. Her best friend said, Jules, let's go. Why waste breath on a broke loser? Julianne stood there for a few more seconds, then turned and got into a car. I glanced back once. Her profile was smiling. She looked pretty happy. I tossed my suitcase into a roadside dumpster. Inside were just a few clothes, all cheap stall-bought stuff. Nothing worth keeping. Then I went to the bus station and bought a ticket for the next Greyhound to San Francisco. Economy, 3 days of hell across the country. I sat by the window, watching the scenery retreat rapidly outside. My phone vibrated. Julian sent a text. Lucas, I'm giving you one last chance. Come to that new French restaurant downtown right now, apologize to my friends, and say yesterday was just a joke. Then I'll forgive you. I stared at the screen for a few seconds, tapped her profile picture, and hit delete contact. Confirm. It got dark outside the window. I closed my eyes, and memories flashed through my mind. Freshman year, military training. She fainted from heat stroke. I carried her on my back all the way to the infirmary. She had stomach cramps. I made porridge for her in the dorm using a hot plate and got caught by the RA 3 times. The first time her family's company had trouble, she came to me crying, and I gave her 2 years of scholarship money I'd saved. She said, Lucas, you're so good. She said, when I graduate, let's get married. She said, I like you really. It was all fake. I opened my eyes and pulled another phone from my pocket. Black old with physical buttons. I turned it on and dialed a number. Uncle Marcus, it's me. Yes, I've decided to come back. Help me register a company. Name it Luster. Right, LUSDR. Funds will come from my personal account. Transfer $5 million first. Also, look into the recent situation of the Sterling Group in New York, especially their financials. The more detailed, the better. I hung up, leaned back in the seat, and looked at the pitch-black night outside the window. The glass reflected my face, expressionless. But my eyes were red. Julianne Sterling. I said the name once in my heart. 3 years. Time to pay it back. 1 year later. San Francisco, Tech District. Mr. Cole, this is the latest financial report on the Sterling Group. The assistant placed a folder on my desk and adjusted his glasses. Last quarter's losses expanded to $8 million. Their cash flow is broken. The banks are calling in debts, and suppliers are making noise. Richard Sterling, Julianne's father, visited 3 banks last week. Didn't get a single loan. I took the folder and opened it. Dense rows of numbers, all red. Are they looking for investment now? Yes. They're in touch with a few VCs, but no deals have been made. Richard is pinning his hopes on the Innovation Tech Expo next month. Rumor has it they're releasing a new product, hoping to turn things around with that. I closed the folder and tossed it back on the desk. That new product, do we have the specs? Yes. The assistant handed over a tablet. It's a smart wearable device. The concept is new, but the tech is immature. Battery life and accuracy are issues. And he paused. And what? And the core algorithm section is highly similar to our Phase 3 project currently in development. I looked up. How similar? 70%. Interesting. I leaned back in my chair, spinning the pen in my hand. Where did Sterling get the tech? They poached one of our former engineers, Liam Vance. He jumped ship 3 months ago. He took some code with him. I nodded, saying nothing. The office was quiet, only the sound of the AC blowing. Mr. Cole, should we sue? No ruse. I put down the pen, stood up, and walked to the floor-to-ceiling window. Outside was the San Francisco skyline, glass curtain walls reflecting the blinding sunlight. 1 year. I moved from that 100-square-foot basement to here. Top floor, panoramic windows, a view of the bay. When is the Tech Expo? Next Friday. Get me an invitation. In what capacity? I turned around and looked at him. Just a regular attendee. The assistant paused, then nodded. Understood. He walked to the door, then stopped. Mr. Cole, one more thing. Speak. Richard Sterling reached out to us through intermediaries. He wants to meet you to discuss investment. He says he only needs $30 million to revitalize the company. He's willing to give up 40% equity. I smiled. Tell him I don't have time, but I'll be there on the day of the expo. Tell him to bring his daughter. The assistant's expression was subtle, but he nodded. Understood. He left, closing the door gently. I looked out the window again. My phone vibrated. A strange number. I picked it up. Hello, Lucas. It was Julianne's voice. A bit hoarse, tentative. It's me, I said. Silence on the other end for a long time. Long enough that I thought she hung up. You are in San Francisco. Yeah. I heard you're doing pretty well now. I'm alright. Silence again. Do you know about my dad's company? I know a little. Can you help us? Her voice was soft, carrying a pleading tone I'd never heard before. Our family is in a really hard spot right now. We really need money. As long as you're willing to help, I'll agree to any condition. I listened, saying nothing. Lucas, are you listening? I am, I said. I'll be at the Tech Expo. Let's talk in person. Really? Her voice suddenly brightened. You're willing to help us? In person? I hung up. Putting down the phone, I walked to the desk and pulled open the bottom drawer. The platinum ring was still there, sitting quietly in its velvet box. I took it out and looked at it against the light. The diamonds still sparkled, but they weren't as blinding anymore. I put it back. As I locked the drawer, the phone rang again. This time it was my dad. Son, I heard you go to New York? Yeah. To see that girl? Yeah. Dad sighed. It's been a year. Still haven't let it go. I didn't answer. Fina, your business, you handle it. But don't get soft-hearted. Business is business. Feelings are feelings. I know. Good. He paused. By the way, your mom wants to know, when are you coming home for dinner? Next week. All right. She'll make ribs. After hanging up, I sat in the chair staring at the ceiling for a long time. 1 year. I slept 6 hours a day. The rest of the time was work. Starting with 5 million, now valued at 300 million. No one knew whose son I was. They all thought I was just lucky, catching the right tailwinds. Only I knew I climbed up step by step, gritting my teeth. Every time I wanted to give up, I would remember that voice at the cafeteria entrance. If you're poor, accept your fate. It makes me sick, and I could keep going. My phone vibrated again. A friend request on social media. The profile picture was a selfie of Julianne on a yacht, smiling brilliantly. I tapped it, looked at it, then hit decline. 2 seconds later, she sent it again. Note, Lucas, I really know I was wrong. I declined again. Sent again. Note, please. I stared at those words for 10 seconds, then accepted. She messaged instantly. Thank you. I didn't reply. Should I pick you up on the day of the expo? No need. Then I'll wait for you at the entrance. Yeah. Where do you want to eat? I'll book a restaurant in advance. Whatever. How about that French place? You used to say you wanted to try it. No need. Lucas, are you still mad at me? I really didn't mean it back then. I was just too prideful. My friends were there. I was afraid they'd laugh at me. And that plastic ring of yours, it really was too. I didn't wait for her to finish typing. I sent a reply. I'll be there on time. We'll talk then. Then I closed the app, silenced the phone, and tossed it on the desk. Outside, the sky was darkening. The city lights began to come on. Patches of light, like an inverted starry sky. I stood up, grabbed my jacket, and walked out. The assistant was still working overtime. He looked surprised to see me. Mr. Cole, leaving so early today? Yeah, going for a walk. Do you need a driver? No. I got into the elevator and hit the ground floor button. As the elevator descended, I looked at the person in the mirror. Suit, tie, hair combed neatly. Expressionless. A bit of stranger. While I walked out of the building, the wind was strong. I lit a cigarette and leaned against the wall to smoke. There was a food truck nearby selling hot dogs, steam rising into the air. I remember back then, walking Julian back to her dorm at night. She was always hungry. I'd run to the campus gate to buy a late-night snack, extra toppings, no onions. She'd eat and say, Lucas, you have to make big money in the future and buy me snacks every day. I said, okay, I'll buy a truckload. She smiled until her eyes curved into crescents. Back then, I thought that was forever. I only snapped out of it when the cigarette burned my fingers. I stubbed it out and tossed it in the trash. Then I walked to the food truck. Boss, give me one. What on it? Everything. No onions. You got it. While waiting, the phone vibrated again. It was a photo from Julianne. She took in the mirror wearing a white dress. Very similar to the one I gave her. Does it look good? I bought it especially. You used to say I looked best in white. I looked at the photo and didn't reply. The hot dog was ready. I took it and took a bite. Same taste, but it didn't taste good anymore. I took 2 bites and threw it away. Turned and walked back. At the entrance of the building, I looked back once. Traffic flowing, people coming and going. No one was waiting for me. Never had been. I entered the elevator and pressed the button for the top floor. As it rose, I watched the numbers jump. Suddenly, I felt a little tired, but just a little. On the day of the expo, it rained heavily in New York. I flew in, landing at JFK and heading straight to the Javits Center, arriving at 2 in the afternoon. The entrance was packed with people, media, attendees, and influencers live streaming. I didn't use an umbrella, just walked in through the rain. Someone at the door was handing out flyers and shoved one into my hand. It was a flyer for the Sterling Group's new product launch. Julianne's photo was printed on it. She was wearing business attire, smiling with poise. Next to it, a bold headline, Smart Future Sterling Wearable Debut. I folded the flyer and stuffed it in my pocket. Entry required scanning the invitation. I walked to the turnstile and pulled out my phone. Electronic invite, general admission. The staff scanned the code and handed me a wristband. Your seat is in section C. Go straight and turn right. I nodded and walked in. The hall was huge, divided into zones A, B, C, and D. Zone A was the main stage, currently blasting music for some opening ceremony. Zone C was for general booths, small companies clustered together, noisy and chaotic. I found my seat in the very last row. As soon as I sat down, my phone rang. Julianne. Lucas, have you arrived? Yeah. Where are you? I'll come find you. Section C, last row. Huh? Why are you sitting there? The invite is general admission. Wait, I'll have someone move you to the front row. Our company has a VIP section in Zone A. No need, I said. I'm fine sitting here. She paused. Then, the press conference starts at 3. I'll find you after. Okay. I hung up, leaned back, and watched the big screen in front. It was playing a warm-up video, a bombardment of high-tech concepts. A couple sat next to me. The girl was taking selfies, the guy playing a game. A middle-aged man in the row ahead was on the phone, talking loudly. Hello, Mr. Wong, don't worry, this time it's a sure thing. I've seen Sterling's new product, it's killer. Invest. We have to invest. I closed my eyes, listening to the noise around me. My mind was empty. 1 year. I had imagined the scene of meeting again many times. I thought I would be angry, or vindicated, or at least a little agitated. But when the moment really came, I just felt tired. Like I had run a very long marathon and finally reached the finish line. But there was nothing at the finish line, only the sound of rain. The press conference started on time. The lights dimmed and spotlights hit the stage. The host passionately introduced the Sterling Group and the new product. Then Richard Sterling went on stage to speak. He had aged a lot, his hair mostly white, but he was forcing an energetic front, talking about company vision, technological breakthroughs, future plans. Applause from the audience was sparse. Most people were on their phones. Then came the product demo. A model walked on stage wearing the new smart wristband to demonstrate functions. Heart rate monitoring, sleep analysis, workout tracking. Very basic stuff. But Richard made it sound like this thing could change the world. Halfway through the demo, something went wrong. The screen on the wristband suddenly went black. The model on stage panicked a bit, pressing buttons to no avail. The audience started to stir. Richard's face changed, and he hurriedly gestured for tech support to go up. They messed with it for 5 minutes before barely restoring it. But the atmosphere had already collapsed. I heard someone next to me say, "That's it?" And they dared to hold a press conference. Heard Sterling is almost bankrupt. This is their last stand. It's over. They're done. The demo ended hastily, moving to the Q&A session. A reporter stood up and asked directly, "Mr. Sterling, it's rumored that this product of yours is suspected of plagiarizing technology from Luster Systems. Is this true?" The entire venue went instantly silent. Richard's face turned green. That is a rumor. We possess completely independent intellectual property rights. Then why are the core algorithms highly similar? Coincidence. Pure coincidenze. Luster Systems has already sent a cease and desist letter. Are you aware? Richard couldn't speak. Sweat was beading on his forehead. The audience below erupted into chaos. Reporters were snapping photos frantically. The crowd was buzzing. Just then, someone walked up from the side of the stage. Julianne. She was wearing that white dress today, with exquisite makeup, but her face was a bit pale. She walked to the microphone and took a deep breath. "Friends from the media, please quiet down. Regarding the issue of technical similarities, we are currently communicating with Luster Systems. We believe there will be a result soon. Please focus on the product itself, rather than these unconfirmed rumors." Her voice was trembling, but she was trying hard to maintain a smile. A reporter wouldn't let up. "Ms. Sterling, there are rumors that you and the CEO of Luster, Mr. Cole, were once lovers. Did this influence the technical cooperation?" Julianne froze. Her fingers gripped the microphone tightly, knuckles turning white. I watched the stage without moving. Under the spotlight, she looked very thin, very small, like she could be blown over by the wind at any moment. Richard grabbed the microphone, almost shouting, "The press conference is over. Thank you, everyone." Then he dragged Julianne toward the backstage. Media chased them for photos. Security tried to block them. Absolute chaos. I stood up and walked out the side door. Outside, the rain hadn't stopped. I stood under the eaves and lit a cigarette. Just 2 puffs in, my phone rang. "Julianne." I answered. "Lucas." She was crying. "Where are you? I want to see you." "Convention Center back exit." "Wait for me." 5 minutes later, she came running. No umbrella, soaked through. Hair plastered her face, makeup ruined. The white dress was drenched, clinging to her body, the outline of her underwear visible. She ran up to me, gasping for breath, eyes red. "Lucas." She tried to take my hand. I sidestepped. "You blew the launch," I said. "Yeah." She started crying again, shoulders twitching. My dad might go to jail. The banks are calling debts, suppliers are suing. Our family is finished." I looked at her, saying nothing. The rain was getting heavier, crackling against the ground. "Lucas, can you help me?" She looked up, tears mixing with rain streaming down her face. I know I was wrong back then. I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. You can punish me however you want, but please help my dad. He's about to break. I took a drag of the cigarette and flicked the butt into a puddle. Hiss. Julianne Sterling. I used her full name. She stared at me blankly. Do you know why I used a plastic ring to propose back then? She shook her head. Because I couldn't afford the real one, I said. But I didn't tell you that I actually had saved enough money. Platinum with diamonds. Over 30 grand. I worked 3 jobs for a whole year. But the day before I proposed, I heard your family company was in trouble and needed $2 million. I sent you that 30 grand, along with all my savings, a total of $2,070,000. I thought money could solve your worries. I thought that after I proposed and told you the truth, you would be moved. But I was wrong. You didn't care who gave the money at all. All you cared about was whether the ring was shiny enough, whether it gave you enough status in front of your friends. Julianne's face went white, bit by bit. Her lips trembled. I didn't know. Of course you didn't know. I smiled. You never asked. Later I took a leave from school, went to San Francisco, and started from scratch. During the hardest times, I didn't eat for 3 days, just drank tap water to survive. I was wondering, what is Julian doing right now? Probably still out for a joyride. Or sitting in some French restaurant, eating steak, complaining that I'm poor and useless. She shook her head, shook it desperately. I didn't. Lucas, I was looking for you afterwards. Looking for me to do what? I interrupted her. To apologize? Or to borrow money? She stopped talking, just cried. The rain was too heavy. Her hair was completely wet, plastered to her face. She looked wretched. Lucas. She reached out, wanted to touch my face. I took a step back. I came to the expo to see how miserable you all were. Now I've seen it. I am satisfied. So that's it. I turned to leave. She lunged forward, hugging me from behind, arms locked tight around my waist. Lucas, don't go. I really know I was wrong. Give me one more chance. I can do anything, anything at all. Please. Her body was pressed against my back, trembling, cold. I pried her hands open, turned around, and looked at her. Julianne, do you remember something you said back then? She looked up, eyes swollen red. You said, if you're poor, accept your fate. Now, I'm giving those words back to you. She froze, like she'd been slapped, completely stunned. I turned and walked into the rain. I didn't look back. Behind me came the sound of her crying. Heart-wrenching. The rain was too loud. It soon covered the sound. I walked to the curb and hailed a cab. The driver asked where to. I said, the airport. As the car started, I looked back once. She was still standing in the rain, squatting on the ground, hugging herself. A tiny ball. I turned back and closed my eyes. The driver turned on the radio, playing an old song. Don't bring up the past. Life has had enough storms. I opened my eyes, watching the streetscape retreat rapidly outside the window. The wipers swung left and right, scraping out a clear view, then quickly blurring again. Like memory, by the time I got to the airport, the rain had stopped. A small patch of sunset glow appeared on the horizon, orange-red, very beautiful. I bought the next flight back to San Francisco, boarding in half an hour. I sat in the terminal, scrolling through my phone. The news was already out. Sterling Group launch fails, suspected plagiarism, faces massive lawsuit. Richard Sterling loses composure. Bankruptcy countdown begins. Former campus queen becomes laughingstock. Julianne Sterling leaves in tears. The photo was of her squatting in the rain, blurry but recognizable. The comments were all mockery. I scrolled past, didn't read closely. Just as I was about to turn off my phone, a new message popped up on WeChat. It was my assistant, Mr. Cole. Richard Sterling came to the company. He's on his knees in the lobby, says he needs to see you. I typed back, let him kneel. Also, prepare the materials to sue Sterling for infringement. Send it as soon as it's ready. Make it fast. Okay. And meeting tomorrow. Discuss the plan to acquire Sterling's assets. Understood. Putting down the phone, the announcement for boarding began. I stood up, grabbing my bag to head to the gate. The line was long, moving forward slowly. Just as I got near the front, someone grabbed the hem of my jacket from behind. I turned around. Julianne. She must have taken a fast cab or driven like a maniac to catch me. Her hair was still wet, clothes rumpled. Her face was covered in tear tracks. Lucas. Her voice was incredibly hoarse. I'll go with you to San Francisco. I could do anything. Serve tea, clean floors, anything. Don't throw me away. People around us were looking, pointing, and whispering. I looked at her, looked for a long time. Then I said, Julianne, when you threw my ring away back then, did you ever imagine today? She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Tears fell again. In this life, I hate people lying to me the most, especially using feelings to lie to me. You lied to me for 3 years. Now it's time to pay. I pried her hand off, scanned my pass, walked through the gate. She shouted from behind, Lucas, I really know I was wrong. I really know. I didn't look back. The plane taxied and took off. I watched out the window as the city lights became a grid, then disappeared into clouds. Sky completely dark. The cabin was quiet, some sleeping, some watching movies. I leaned back and closed my eyes. My mind was a mess. One moment it was the cafeteria entrance, the way she threw the ring. The next it was in the rain, the way she hugged me, crying. Then it was just now, her pulling my jacket, saying don't throw me away. My heart, right there in my chest, hurt a little, but just a little. I opened my eyes, pulled out my laptop, and turned it on. A pile of unread emails. I clicked the top one, the draft acquisition plan. Scroll to the valuation page. Sterling Group Assets, total package acquisition. Offer, $30 million. Exactly the amount Richard Sterling wanted to beg me for today. I stared at that number for a long time. Then I hit delete. Retyped. $15 million. Send. Closing the laptop, I looked at the pitch-black night outside the porthole. The glass reflected my face. Expressionless. But inside my eyes, something finally completely died. The plane sped through the night. Darkness. Only my own reflection on the window. Staring at me. Staring. On the flight back to San Francisco, I had a dream. I dreamed of the university cafeteria, buzzing with voices. I was clutching that velvet box, palms sweating. Julianne stood opposite me, wearing the white dress, smiling so beautifully. She said, Lucas, what are you holding? I opened my hand. The box was open. Inside was that plastic ring. The smile on her face crumbled bit by bit. Then came those words. Poor. Disgusting. The dream cut off there. I woke up. The cabin lights were dim. The guy next to me was snoring. Outside the window was endless black, occasionally flashing a few lonely lights on the ground far below. My phone was vibrating upon landing. It was my assistant. Mr. Cole. Richard Sterling is still at the company in trance. He's been kneeling for 4 hours. Security can't persuade him to leave. He says he'll wait for your return. I checked the time. 2:00 a.m. Let him wait. What time does your flight land? Do you need a car? No need. Okay. Also, Ms. Sterling contacted me. The assistant paused. She asked where you live. She said, there's something she must say in person. Don't tell her. I turned off the screen and shoved the phone in my pocket. My heart gave another dull ache. I stood up, walked to the curb outside Arrivals, and lit a cigarette. The glass doors reflected my face. Unshaven, bloodshot eyes. A bit strange to look at. This past year, I had turned into a machine. Making money, expanding, crushing anyone in my way. I thought that when I had the Sterling family under my heel, I would feel relieved. But now that the moment was here, I only felt. Halfway through the cigarette, my phone vibrated again. A strange number. I answered. Lucas. It was Julianne. Her voice was so hoarse, it was almost inaudible, heavy with congestion and suppressed sobs. I'm at SFO. Arrivals. I knew you were on that flight. I'm waiting for you. Don't wait, I said. I won't see you. Then I'll keep waiting. Her voice was soft, but stubborn. Wait until you're willing to see me. And if you don't, then I wait. She finished and hung up. I listened to the busy signal, standing there for a long time. Only when the ash burned my hand did I snap back. I threw the cigarette in the trash and walked back toward the pickup area. I closed my eyes for a second. When I opened them, I saw her. The Arrivals hall at 2 a.m. was sparse. I walked out, paced fast. I saw her immediately. Julianne. She had changed clothes, simple white t-shirt and jeans, hair tied in a ponytail. Her face was clean, no makeup. Her eyes were red, swollen badly. She was standing right outside the automatic doors, looking straight in my direction. The moment she saw me, her eyes lit up. Then that light dimmed quickly. I walked past without stopping. She followed, half a step behind me. Lucas, I told you, I'm not seeing you. I just have a few sentences. She jogged 2 steps, blocking my path. The airport curb was empty and quiet. Just our footsteps and her breathing. Move, I said. She didn't move, looking up at me. That $2 million from back then, I'll pay you back. After my dad's company goes through bankruptcy and liquidation, there should be a little left. I'll work. I'll pay it back bit by bit. If it's not enough, I'll spend my whole life paying it back slowly. I looked at her. Finished? No. She sniffled. Also, I'm sorry. I've said this many times. You might be sick of hearing it, but I still have to say it. I am sorry, Lucas. I shouldn't have thrown your ring. I shouldn't have said those things. I shouldn't have trampled your sincerity under my feet. I was wrong. I don't ask you to forgive me. I just want to tell you I know I was wrong. Tears fell. She didn't wipe them. It's right for you to hate me. It's right for you to take revenge on my family. I don't resent you. I only resent myself. She finished, stepping aside. You go. I won't bother you anymore. I looked at her. She lowered her head, shoulders trembling slightly, fingers gripping the hem of her shirt, knuckles white. I didn't move. Julianne. I called her name. She looked up, eyes full of water. Back then, when you called me saying your dad's company had a hole, I only had $2,070,000 in my account. That was all my money. I kept $70,000. It was for after the proposal, to take you on a trip. You said you wanted to go to Maui. I remember. Her tears fell harder. Do you know where that $70,000 went? She shook her head. After I bought the ring, I had $30,000 left. I figured $30,000 was enough for our trip. Then, at the cafeteria, you tore up the proposal. I went back to my rental, withdrew that $30,000 in cash, and burned it. Her eyes widened violently. Burned it. Yeah. I nodded. Right in the trash, can downstairs. I watched it turn to ash. At that moment I thought, Lucas, you really are a dumbass. You deserve it. She covered her mouth, sobbing out loud. It was a suppressed cry, squeezed from the back of her throat, like a wounded animal. I am sorry. I am sorry. She repeated those words over and over. Her body went soft, crouching on the ground, face buried in her knees. Her ponytail fell forward, covering her profile. I stood there, watching her cry. Airport security looked over but didn't come. The wind from the bay blew in, a bit cold. I took off my jacket and threw it over her. She froze, lifted her face, and stared at me blankly. Wear it, I said. Don't cry here. It looks ugly. She grabbed my jacket, slowly standing up. The coat was huge, hanging empty on her frame. She looked at me, eyes red and swollen, nose red too. Lucas, your dad is still kneeling in my office. I interrupted her. If you want to kneel a bit longer, keep wasting time here. Her face went pale. I'll tell him to leave right now. She fumbled to get her phone out, fingers shaking so much she couldn't unlock it several times. I watched this version of her, compared to the high and mighty Princess Sterling from a year ago. Two different people. Julianne, I said. She looked up. Do you still like me? She stared, like she didn't understand. I asked you, do you still like me? She opened her mouth. No sound came out. Tears surged again. She nodded hard. Ido. From beginning to end, I only liked you. Back then I was too vain, too worried about face. I was afraid others would say, I found a poor boyfriend. I was afraid of being looked down on by them. I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. I looked at her for a long time. Then I said, my family isn't poor. She froze. Luster Systems is just a practice run my dad gave me. My family's main business isn't here. Her eyes widened bit by bit. The company your dad is kneeling at is just the smallest one under my name. I didn't drop out because I couldn't make it. I had enough fun, so I went back to take over. She went completely stiff, like she'd been struck by lightning. So that $2 million you gave me back then? Pocket money, I said. She took a step back, leaning against a pillar, face white as paper. You always knew about my family situation? Yeah. Then why did you? Why treat me so well? I finished her sentence. She nodded, eyes full of shattered light. Because I liked you, I said, very calmly. Back then, I really liked you. Liked your smile, liked your tantrums, liked everything about you. So I thought being good to you was just what I should do. Money didn't matter. My family having money, that's my business. Me liking you and wanting to treat you well, that was my business. She looked at me, tears flowing silently. But you crush my affection. Julianne, affection can run out. She closed her eyes, shoulders trembling violently. I understand. Her voice was light as a sigh. I understand. Now, she opened her eyes and looked at me. Lucas, I won't ask you to like me anymore. I don't deserve it, but I beg you don't hate me. When you hate me, right here, she covered her chest. It hurts. Every day, it hurts so much I can't sleep. I'd rather you forgot me. Just pretend you never knew me. Okay. I didn't speak. The sound of cars